All right, let's get right into it. We are about to talk about a pretty fundamental shift in how our digital world is put together, so forget everything you think you know about being a user on someone else's platform. Today, we're exploring the move from, well, renting your online life to actually owning the foundation it's built on.
But seriously, think about that for a second. Your friends list, your followers, the content you create, your whole digital identity. Who really has the keys? Who's in control? Can it just vanish one day? This question right here is really the heart of everything we're digging into today, this idea of digital sovereignty.
And this all boils down to a central conflict. On one side, you've got the rental model, the one we're all pretty familiar with. And on the other, this new ownership model. It's literally the difference between being a tenant in someone else's building and being the landlord of your own digital space.
Okay, so let's unpack the problem first. For, decades now, we've been building our digital homes on what you could call rented land. We pour our creativity, our communities, our businesses onto these platforms, creating enormous value. But we don't own the property. We have no equity in it.
You know, the source material really nails this. For years, we've built our online lives on this rented land, with absolutely no true ownership of our data. We're living by rules we didn't write, on platforms that can change the game or just kick us out whenever they want. This lack of ownership is the big problem a new vision for the web is trying to solve.
So what's the alternative? Well, that's where Web 4 comes in. And look, this isn't just about going from a 3 to a 4. It's a whole philosophical shift away from that centralized control and towards what people are calling digital sovereignty. It's about building an entirely new foundation from the ground up.
And what's so interesting here is how you can map the journey. You know, Web 2 was all about those big, centralized platforms controlling everything. Then came Web 3, which brought us blockchain and the idea of decentralization, but let's be honest, it was often way too complicated for most people. Web 4 is being positioned as the logical next step, taking that promise of ownership and finally making it practical with tools anyone can use.
Okay, so how does this actually work, right? It's not magic, it's all about infrastructure. We're going to look at two key pieces of technology that are being proposed as the building blocks for this new sovereign internet, something called UIID and another called SNAS.
First up, UIID. The absolute best way to think about this is like your own personal digital passport. It's an encrypted identity that belongs to you and only you. It's not tied to Google, it's not tied to Facebook or any other company. It's completely sovereign. It's yours.
So the key here is what makes it so different. First, it's decoupled. That just means your identity isn't trapped inside one app. It exists on its own. Second, it's portable. So you can take your friends, your followers, your data, and just move it somewhere else. And finally, it's secure, built from the ground up to protect your privacy.
Now, the second big tool is SNAS, which stands for Social Network as a Service. And this is a real game changer. It basically turns all the complex, difficult back-end stuff you need to run a social network into a public utility, kind of like electricity or water. You can just turn it on and deploy a whole social ecosystem without writing a single line of code. And here is where it all clicks. When you combine a sovereign identity like UIID with the incredible power of SNAS, you get the ability to build what are being called microcities, your own independent, self-governing digital communities.
And the process is presented as being, well, surprisingly simple. Step 1, you use SNAS to launch your space. Step 2, your members use their own UIDs to join and identify themselves. And step 3, from there, you, the owner, get to set the rules for your own digital world.
So what are these microcities really? Well, think of them as these self-governing spaces where creators have a direct line to their audience, no algorithm in the middle. A place where your data is a private asset that you actually control, not some product to be packaged up and sold. And maybe most importantly, a place where the value that the community creates stays inside that community.
This brings us right to the heart of it all. Let's put the old model and the new model right next to each other, just to see how massive this proposed shift really is. This is the rental model versus the ownership model, head-to-head.
And we're not just talking about a minor upgrade here. According to the source, the difference isn't small. It's a fundamental paradigm shift in how we even interact with the digital world. Okay, just look at this table for a second. On the left, you've got the rental model we all know, controlled by big tech. On the right, the ownership model. Let's break it down. Your digital ID goes from being something a company owns and can ban or delete to a UID that you own forever. Your data goes from being harvested and sold to being a private asset that you control. Your reach is no longer at the mercy of some mysterious algorithm you could direct access.
And the infrastructure itself goes from being a closed proprietary system to being open and accessible to anyone. I mean, this is the whole ballgame right here.
So where does this all lead? What does it all add up to? Well, the vision being presented here is for a sovereign digital future, one where we stop being just users and we start becoming digital citizens, with actual rights and ownership in the online spaces we build and live in.
The source material wraps this vision up with a really powerful statement that the era of being completely dependent on a handful of giant centralized platforms is over, and the era of the sovereign digital citizen has begun.
Which, of course, leaves us with one final, very provocative question. It's a call to really think about our place in this digital world and ask ourselves, do we want to keep being renters? Or is it maybe time to start building on a foundation that we ourselves actually own?